Robert Fernley said, arrived late. Did you share your thoughts on the passing of Bob Saget? We did not do that, but we probably should.
No.
Bob Saget.
We should do that on the show, on the
I've
TV
never.
show.
I mean, briefly. I mean, I've never. Did you ever meet Bob Saget? I never met him.
I did. I met him once.
Look, from a general perspective, obviously, like for a lot of people, we all grew up with Bob Saget, especially if you are probably over 30 years old or something like that. He was a huge part of your life. And even if you were younger, you probably watched the new, Full House that was on Netflix and stuff. I would say from a, look, if watch Jimmy Kimmel's kind of, what he said on his show, and it's obviously very, very touching. And Bob Saget, I've never heard one negative word said about Bob Saget. But I think the interesting thing here is like, especially as comedians, we've just been around so many comedians that we know who are no longer with us, and it's like, it's deeply sad. It's sad, but it's sad on, even though I didn't know Bob Saget, like we weirdly have similar lives, right? Like stand-up comedians have this bond that we will always have, that we live a different life. We're just different types of people, and there's something. It's depressing in its own way, almost like in a different level, because he brought so much joy to people's lives, and there was so much stuff. He almost charity work he did, and all this other stuff. So it's obviously very, very sad. But as a comedian, it's like it hurts me in a different way. I don't know how to explain it exactly.
I think there's a camaraderie between people who do what you do, and I think the part that hit me the hardest was the fact that he died alone in a hotel room, and I can't explain. There's no way that I could ever put into words how it feels to be on stage. And we as comedians talk a lot about the fact that we don't even consider how cocky it is to say, like, I'm gonna go to your town I've never been to, and I'm gonna make you laugh, a person who I don't have anything that essentially relates to it directly. I didn't grow up where you grew up. I didn't do what you did, but I'm going to make you laugh with words I've already thought of. And then you do that, and to be on stage and to have a joke hit. And there's moments where I remember very distinctly, I was supposed to feature for a headliner. So I was the middle act. Sometimes the club will pick you randomly, but most of the time the headliner will say, I want this person to come along. A headliner brought me with them to do 2 shows in Wisconsin. The second, two clubs in Wisconsin. So 2 weekends. So I was away from home for 2 weeks in a row. The second weekend, a special guest popped in, and it wasn't Bob Saget, by the way. A special guest popped in. So it was a comedian who toured with an NFL team, and he promised that the NFL players would come see him perform. They never did, by the way. I think like 2 of the guys from like the audio booth showed up, but because of that promise, and they were playing the Packers, and it was like Packers players will come, and we're in the middle of Wisconsin near Green Bay. The club bumps the headliner down to feature and lets them keep the headliner pay, and was going to bump me off the show completely. But I had already purchased tickets to fly to LA. Long story short, the club calls me and says, hey, you're off the show. And I said, yo, what am I going to do? Like, I have to be in your town that weekend anyway.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm like, my flight's flying out of your city to LA. So like, there's nothing I can do. I can't go home. You know what I mean? And I was like, can I stay in the condo, in the comedy condo? And they were like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you host and still keep the feature money? So we'll just bump the host completely. I was like, fine. So I'm now in that city. I have a hosting set that crushes so much that they let me actually do extra time between the feature and the headliner on the second show because the headliner's bombing. The next day I come back, I destroy again. And I'm doing this on purpose. I'm doing all my A material. I'm like, yo, if you're going to bump me down a host, you're going to remember my name. I'm doing all my best material. I am crushing. And I go back to the booth afterwards, and the owner of the club goes, I wish you would have headlined. I mean, I had the greatest set I've ever had. I'm doing crowd work. I'm doing my set. Everything is working perfectly. And I get off stage, and as soon as the show's over, people are forgetting about the headline. They're running over and they're like, dude, you're hilarious. You're the funniest. When are you back in town? I want to come see you. People are buying me drinks. It felt like all 400 people were around me all at the same time buying me drinks. And then all of a sudden, it's like 100 people around me. And then all of a sudden, it's like 3 or 4 people. And then all of a sudden, it's just like one other person. You know what I mean? And then that person leaves, and now I'm at the highest I've ever been. I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest feeling on earth. And I'm alone.
Yeah.
And then I go back to the comedy condo, and I'm alone. And that feeling doesn't ever, there's no way to ever level that out. I could see why so many comedians turn to drugs.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But luckily, I have people like my wife that I could call and be like, "Yo, I'm sorry, there's no way to come down off of this right now. Like, I need to talk to somebody that will ground me, that knows who I am, because I am the single most important thing happening in this city right now." And then all of a sudden, I'm nobody again.
Yeah.
And that feeling, that being alone in a hotel room, is one of the saddest places to be, because of the letdown of being so, like, the whole room is clapping for you. And then all of a sudden, nothing. So to die in a hotel room, Greg Giraldo died alone in a hotel room. A bunch of other comedians have now. Bob Saget has. That feeling is so dreadful to me as a comic, because I understand just how depressive a state. That's why everyone immediately went drugs. Not just because you think he's a drug user, because every comedian knows he must have had a great set.
Yeah, that my first thought. I hear hotel room. I think drugs. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know exactly what happened, and don't want to speculate. But we've just been around it so much, and it's not even like, oh, he did drugs, what a bad person. It's like, oh, maybe it was drugs, and oh, what was he going through? What was that? That's because we're also used to the same story, and we all kind of experience the same exact thing, and that's a great description of like the high that you feel when you have a good set. I haven't even been performing much in the last year, and I did a show on Saturday, and it was like, oh my, it went so well that I was mad. I'm like, I'm mad because of COVID. I'm mad because I can't do this, every day and whatever.
Right.
And
yeah. It's so hard to. Your body doesn't know what to do with the. I don't know if you've ever been punched in the face when you didn't know you were about to get punched, like sucker punched. That's the feeling. You're just like, your body has no idea how to calculate what is happening.
Right.
You just had a great set, and you're just like, where's the next show? And you never want the party to end. And at the same time, it's a lot. And by the way, Dimitri, you're a fucking amazing human being. You got Gully Squad anytime you need us.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're just a wonderful human being, Dimitri. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
that means a lot.
I mean, it's been, look, when it's interesting because, our lives were so focused on stand-up comedy. Essentially, when we started, the first essentially like 6-7 years of our career, and then we brought this to the soccer community, and it's been, honestly, it's changed my life and just changed my disposition, because it's made me excited about another thing, and I get to work on my joke telling, but also get to be more ingratiated in the soccer world, and
I've been meaning to tell you, dude, you should start telling jokes on the show. Dude.
Oh my God, I've been I've been slacking. You know how it is.
Also, that's the only other way comedians ought to tell each other that they like that person, or they love them, is to shit on them.
But yeah, look, obviously, you rest in peace to Bob Saget. It just sucks. It's a terrible story. I don't know if we'll ever know exactly what happened, but it's a shame to lose someone who is clearly just so beloved, and then as comics, it is. We don't want to think so much of ourselves, but we're trying to do something good for the world and do something good for people. So when you lose someone,
I do it for me.
Okay, everybody has their own motives. But when you lose someone, especially, we know the amount of dedication and sacrifice and work. It just looks like we're bullshitting on here, but like it really took years of crafting and working, going to open mics, and so Bob Saget has been a famous comedic actor and comedian for years, but there's no. He still had to do the same work. It doesn't matter how famous you are, you still got to work on the jokes. You still have to perform them. You still have to like get in front of that.
We've said this before. The most famous person can jump on stage, and that's why the stage is the great equalizer.
Yeah.
You could be the world's most famous human being. If David Beckham got on stage at a comedy club in Manchester, he'd get an uproar of applause immediately. Yeah. He would get a laugh no matter what he said as the first joke. After the second joke, he'd get a couple of giggles. After the third joke, you better be funny or get off stage, because there's other comedians here. Like, fame is done after 3 jokes.
Right.
You're done. Like you have to
They
earn it as a comic.
the
every
audience
time.
will be like, "All right, Bex, show us your abs.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear
yeah,
this."
Yeah. Shut up and take your shirt off. You ain't funny. You cute. Stop it.
I can't.
Stay in your lane, Beck.
So yeah, dude. Obviously it sucks, but you just got to keep it moving, man.
But thank you for asking us.
Yeah. Great question. Thank you. Okay.